Howdy, howdy. It's fun and fantastic to be here. My name's Lewis Herms with Screw Big Gov, and today is all about the Q&A. That song from Billy Preston was actually recommended by an audience member, so we played it on request because now I'm a DJ also, so that's awesome. Folks, it is so awesome to be here. There's a lot going on in the world. Some of it's struggling, some of it's good vibrations, but the reality is we always have to look within ourselves, which is tough sometimes. We are control of the reaction, whatever that is. So we have the choice to get down, be in fear, or find some positivity. Let's just all remember, and I think it's very important to reiterate this often, the baddies, the cabal, the deep state, the Satanists, whatever you want to name them, or all of the above, they need us in fear and apprehension, and they need us divided. Okay, so if we understand that they need fear, apprehension, and division, what if, I know crazy talk, right? What if we intentionally lived without fear and we lived in courage, confidence, and decided not to be divided? What would they do? They would lose. It's literally that simple. So I hope everybody can internalize that message, because it's really, if it is to be, it is up to me, it is up to we. We can change this, because ultimately our decisions, or our lack thereof decisions, Edmund Burke, when good men do nothing, evil will prosper. We have to take accountability for how we got to here in the first place. So we also can take accountability and responsibility on how to fix it. And that's the message I want to leave you with today. So let's get into having fun. Let's go right to our questions. Lisa, I can run these if you prefer. Just give me a thumbs up, or you can run them. What would you want? Okay, got it. Cool. All right, first question. By the way, I barely peruse the questions, guys. So if I don't have enough information on this, I will just tell you the truth that I don't. All right. So if that's true, your question is really valid when you say, well, then why are people coming over the border? Well, interesting enough, I've put out several messages lately to my contacts that are on the border, and I'm getting no response right now, which is really weird. Really weird. I'm just saying, is something going on there? I'm not hearing much action. What exactly is going on? I'm not getting the pictures I used to get. It's very interesting, whatever's there. So what we do know, if we step back a few months, probably almost a year at this time, I decided to go to the border. One of my motivations to go to the border was this: the many in the patriot community were saying nothing is happening on the border. So I went there and I talked to some people and I interviewed them. Now, I will say they were all fighting age men for sure, but based on a lot of the interviews I had, I didn't see a bunch of what I would say as evil, right? They seem more like opportunists. But I was very concerned that they were all fighting age men. There was barely any women that I saw or interviewed at the border, just a few, right? And clearly the cartel on the other side of the border was in control of these people. So that was interesting. So that goes against the narrative that these are being run by Trump. What I think could be happening is I do believe there may be an element, because something did happen where suddenly the Border Patrol, and they got very frustrated with this, were tasked with scooping everybody up, getting their information, and then shipping them out to other places. Maybe, just maybe, I don't know if I'm trying to look at the positive, is it possible that the people that are being scooped up are absolutely tracked? Maybe the card and the phone that they get is part of is a tracking device. Maybe they've already vetted them, and that's one of the things they do at the Border Patrol. I don't know the answer to this, and I'm not going to be one of those those influencers that say, yeah, they're all good coming over, and I'm not going to be one of the influencers saying that they're all Chinese trained military either, because they're not. I will tell you though, we've caught several people that seem to be Chinese trained military. So I think both can go on at the same time. And I did talk to somebody about this a while ago that's very, very connected. And I said, what do you think's going on? And the answer I got is, which again indicated to me that Trump is control of the CIC. Now, here's the thing, and it really only comes back down to this, and hopefully this really will hone in on the question and how I can show you that maybe there's two things can go on at the same time. We constantly hear about the 5D chessboard. I get it. I believe that they're based on the fact of all the reading I've done on the art of war and what I've learned about some war strategies and especially um, intelligence strategies. Let's put it that way. This definitely seems like the art of war is playing out. So that being said, can there two things playing out at one time? I believe there can, because I do believe that there's a good guy element and a bad guy element at the same time. I do not believe, I'm going to say this now for everybody that follows those hopium people, I do not believe we're 100% in control and it's only a movie. Nope. I do believe that the good guys are in control of a lot and many, many elements of this other movie. I believe where they're struggling is there is a bunch of rogue actors doing things and they cannot yet seal the border. I mean, the reality is, do you really think that the white hats were 100% in control, yet they let Lahaina get attacked by DEW weapons? Do you really believe that? I don't believe that. So I think it could be a little bit of both. And that's why one of the main reasons I keep saying we the people need to ante up and kick in. So if you believe there is a white hat slash gray hat element, then you need to get as involved as you possibly can so they understand that they're being supported also. So I know that's a very long answer to your question, but it was a very deep question right off the bat. Let's go to here, I'll do it real quick. Boom. And let's see if I can get this before Lisa gets it. No, she was quicker on getting rid of the question than me. Good job, Lisa. Thank you. So that's I don't know if we could restart that. Can you restart that screen, Lisa? I don't know how to restart that. Maybe I just go off of it and on it again. Hold on a second. Boom. Boom. Okay. So that's screwbiggov.com. Why is that so important? Well, we're getting shadow banned all over the place, banned, deleted. We're having trouble even getting videos up on TikTok. So please go there and sign up for the newsletter. Very important. So if we disappear, you guys are going to know about it. Plus, you get updates. You can find everything in regards to Remember Your Oath, Cages, all our films that we've done, Freedom in Action, even swag, and access to any of the products that we're promoting also. So that's great. You know, it's interesting that the Venmo, Cash App, and Give Send Go popped up. I hadn't checked Give Send Go in weeks because I never promote getting donations. And I had a massive donation just 2 weeks ago. So to that person, thank you very much. Very sweet, very unexpected. I just saw it a couple days ago. In regards to Screw Big Gov, also, best place to go to find the links to all of our social media, because we're jerked around on them constantly. So Lisa diligently updates these links for you. So go to screwbiggov.com for that, and go to Renegade Media on Telegram, and you can get a lot of updates on everything that we're doing. And that's an old picture of Robert, clearly, but that's right off of the site. But just go to Telegram channel at Renegade Media, and Robert does a lot for us there, so I definitely would subscribe to his account. All right, let's move back to the Q&A, please. Next question up. Can you actually cash out your Trump rebate banking, your TRB check, or is it a scam? Well, I hate to say, in my opinion, it's 100% scam. They did a lot of this with showing things that seemed of value that they sold under President Trump's name. The TRB well, I thought they were the little black cards. I'm not aware of the check, but what's interesting about that is they put a lot of hype behind it. Trump's team, they never said it's a legitimate thing. They were asked about it. They literally had mainstream media trying to interview them, and they just disavowed it. So I don't have too much faith on it. I'm sorry if you purchased it, but just look at it as a novelty item because that's probably all it is, in my opinion. Um, Now, if there's a Nasara Jasara, which I do believe there's going to be a minor version of Nasara Jasara, a lot of this stuff really won't matter when it comes to it. All right, question number 3, please. How would Lewis, who's that? I'm not quite sure, but I'll answer it. How would Lewis propose a radical reform of America's deeply corrupt local, state, federal, and Scottish judicial system? Well, I have to take a drink for that because you know I talk about this often. So, by the way, that's just natural spring water. Um, all right. So I deeply believe that virtually all deep state systems, and when I say all, I mean all, I even mean the education system, I mean the agricultural system, the big pharma, yes, the judicial system, legislature, all local governments. I think it all needs to be torn down to the foundation. All torn down the foundation. So how would we perform radical reform? Well, the first thing I would do is I would go back to the founding fathers' great work. So what would that be? That could be the Bill of Rights. That could be just the overall Constitution pre 1871, the Declaration of Independence, and use those as a format because they really have written everything in there the way it should be run. And ultimately, guys, you almost should never hear anything from the feds. And if we're really aware, and I think most of you are, virtually everything is being controlled by the feds. So even I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday. So here's a great example of things being controlled by the feds and not. Did you know your cities can get a subsidy from the state if they have a certain percentage of low income housing? Okay? Did you know that funding, much of it comes from the feds? So, in essence, the feds are in control of what's being built in your local town or city. That's just a very small microcosm of what goes on. So the feds' fingers are in everything. Look at education system, right? Do you think Common Core would have been as pervasive if it wasn't for the feds? Of course not. Why do they even have a Secretary of Education? I'm not interested in the feds teaching us anything. So all of it has to come down to the foundation and rebuilt according to the founding fathers and some intelligent people today. Guess what? I don't think it's going to take much work at all. I think it's going to take a lot more work to tear it down and somehow offer a way for people to get reintroduced into the employment market if they're working for the feds in the state, because it will be a loss of a lot of jobs. So if we can retrain them and reintroduce them to other jobs, I think it'll make it go a lot more seamlessly. But you watch when, and I know it's going to happen, when all these entities are torn down to the minimum, I think you're going to see an absolute amazing, almost a utopian type society, because we the people will only be subjected to what we need. Let me give you an example of this. If you just look at laws, just laws on the books, right? For example, I've said this before, if if you just have you cannot drive a vehicle while being distracted. That's it. You can eliminate about 15, 20, maybe 100 different laws that are on the books. That means, so why do we need a law? You can't eat a cheeseburger when you're driving, or you can't text while you're driving, or you can't hold a phone to your ear while you're driving. You can't bend over and grab something off the floor while you're driving, or you can't be flipping somebody off the window. Da 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 da. Why? You don't need it. All you need is no distracted driving. That's it. That's it. Or you don't even need that law if you really want to go down the complete libertarian route. You don't need that law at all. You just need, like, okay, you hit somebody, you're liable. You certainly don't need all these laws that they attach to civil rights. Like, if you harm somebody, you harm somebody. Why does it matter? So all of that would be stripped down completely. Guess what, though? That means you need barely any of the attorneys. You need barely any of the judges. You barely need any of the infrastructure to run all the court systems. They know this. So how do they keep their job? They keep writing shitty laws over and over and over and over. All of that needs to be gone. And that's what we're going to have to work on. All right, next question, please. Should we really be concerned about civil unrest? Not everyone is awake. Well, I'll be honest, I don't know how these two things go together. So let me figure this out. Should we really be concerned about civil unrest? Not everyone is awake. Okay. I don't know. I think the fact that not everyone is awake is why we would have civil unrest, to be honest with you. Um, my biggest concern has always been from the beginning that we may have some form of a civil war, and that's actually, I believe, what the deep state wants. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Freemasonic system of division, because if you have a whole element of people that believe one way and they're completely educated on the truth, and you have another element that believe another way and they are educated on the truth, unfortunately there's a natural hate that's kind of bred together with that. So that division is very, very intense. So I am concerned about civil unrest. I will say, and this may be an energy thing, I am shocked to this day, that somebody or many people have not tried to take out some of these satanic leaders that we have. So I believe maybe there is some type of energy element that's helping control that, which would be a beautiful thing, by the way, if that's true. Because all you would need to do is take out a couple of those, and then the left is going to go crazy, and then the right says, I believe the extraordinarily patient, sometimes maybe too so, but we're extraordinarily patient, and I believe most of us would only defend ourselves. But I do know there's a rising tide of people that are looking to do something. So if if it if something like that happens, the only way it would ever work is it would have to be extraordinarily organized. The challenge with it being extraordinarily organized is twofold. If you had an extraordinarily organized militia nowadays, the only way to do that is primarily through the internet, which is completely monitored by the deep state. So it would be infiltrated, it'd be taken down. They would use people like, as in the Oath Keepers, to hold them up as an example and make sure they get jailed and so on and so forth. So I believe there's a lot of patience going on right now, which is paramount. One of the reasons why I believe the deep state has not been able to completely control America, and they're most afraid of the United States, I should say, Americans. Americans, not we can'ts, we're cans. So the reason why I believe that is because they don't have an answer for that is really what's made the difference. So uh, all hail to the Second Amendment, because I believe without the Second Amendment, and you can use Australia and Canada as an example, I think we'd be far gone by now. far gone. So should we be concerned about civil unrest? Yes. Should we I believe, throw out uh, a lot of love, understanding, and education? I think that's our best bet at the moment. But we do need to get organized, and I'm not talking from a malicious standpoint, although I'm not against that. We should get organized together for sure, and I'm working on systems. Hopefully, I can introduce in the next 2 months that will do exactly that. All righty. Question 5. Given Trump's Truth Social limited traction in North America and none overseas, how would Lewis have made it a more successful and powerful platform if we had been tasked with running it? Okay. So, I'm glad you asked me this question, and I know, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm also very honest. I think this was rolled out and it was a mistake because it was rolled out by mainly Trump people. And what it's become, in my opinion, it's become an echo chamber. And I've mentioned this before. It's pretty much only posting about President Trump, right? And you can get good information from that. Primarily, the best information you're getting from Trump itself. So it has become a Trump platform. Now, the beauty about this, so I'm not completely dogging it. The beauty about True Social, though, it is the one platform that Trump's been to consistently be able to get his message out on. And then what happened is people start grabbing his truths and they're putting them on X and they're putting them all over Telegram and other places, right? I believe the biggest mistake was they tied this too closely to President Trump, so it really became an echo chamber. And in most cases, believe it or not, we don't want an echo chamber. We want to get all the information. I think the other mistake they made, which was huge, or as Trump said, huge, is they did censor. And they did a different form of censoring than most people are used to. We as the truthers know it because I can tell you how I was censored directly. I had multiple posts on Khazarian Mafia that you never will see on True Social because they never let them go up. They denied it. They said there's nothing there, Lewis. Okay, nothing there, but every single one of my truths went up immediately. And one of my, because I was testing it and they didn't know this, because sometimes I have a smart idea. I was testing it, and over 40 times I tried to put up this post on Khazarian Mafia. Different. I did it from my laptop. I did it from my computer. I did it from my phone. Everything I can. The post never, ever, ever went up. At that moment, I'm like, okay. So I've convinced myself that maybe I'm too far ahead of the curve sometimes. And that's not an ego play. That's the only thing I could possibly think. But there is definitely censorship and there's some issues going on with True Social, in my opinion. So how would I have done it better? I would have not had President Trump as the face of True Social. And that has nothing against President Trump, just from a pure business standpoint, I think that was a huge mistake. I would have gotten together a coalition of people that just want freedom of speech. And there's even, believe it or not, there's even people that would be more of the liberal leaning that just want freedom of speech. Even though I don't agree with him, and yes, I think he's part of the Red Shoe Club. This is only an example. Maybe somebody like a Bill Maher or somebody like a Russell Brand or a Joe Rogan. You kind of attach them to the project. I think they would have got a lot more traction. Second thing that really happened is Elon took over X and started making changes, and even though they still have issues and they shadow ban me, I believe it took a lot of the wind out of the sails of True Social. So again, how would I made it better? I guess the main thing is I would have detached President Trump from it, made more of a coalition of voices, and I think it would have been a lot stronger in regards to that. Okay, let's go to the next question. Do you think Australia will become the 51st state of the USA? Okay. This is interesting. Australia and Canada are two of the most manipulated countries in the world. They should absolutely be free, and I believe they're virtually in the form of communism right now. I don't know that Australia would become the 51st state of the USA. I believe when this is all said and done, things are going to be broken up a lot differently than we even see them. I think it's more likely that Canada and Mexico will become part of the United States than Australia at this moment. And I don't even know if they really need to be, because the truth is, if we get our shit together, which I think we will get our shit together. I believe the number one deal is going to be sovereignty anyway. So how can we preach sovereignty and keep bringing all these other entities within us? Now, because you're part of the same land mass, it would make sense for Canada, Mexico, and maybe even all the way down to South America, all to unite as a continent, two continents. I'm not sure, but I would say if sovereignty is paramount, I'm not really concerned of if another country does whatever, because I think they should all have their independence as long as they're dealing righteously and they're not touching children. They're not, it's pretty much, it's a free for all. Do what you want. No poisoning of food, all that stuff. I believe it's all going to be gone. And I don't believe I'm a utopian thinker. I do believe I'm fairly pragmatic, but I've just seen this vision over and over. And I believe everything's just going to be wonderful, but we do have some hard times ahead. So I do not think anytime soon that Australia will become the 51st state of the US. Have you heard of John Hamer? One of his books is The Falsification of History and Beyond. I've heard of him. I believe it's Mark Atwood that just interviewed him, which is know much about it, so I wish I could respond more to this. I don't know much about it. Him, I believe he does have disclosures, and pretty much he's talking about everything was a lie. If I have the gentleman correct, previously, and I do agree with most things are a lie. And by the way, I believe they go back over 1,000 years. I also think that we may have had 1,000 years taken out of time. I think that's how manipulated we are. I know, crazy. I don't think there's a flat earth or a globe. What? I know. I'll stand on an island by myself with that thought. I think there's something else completely going on, and that's why we get our attentions diverted. So um, I'll look more into John when I have a chance, but currently I do not know that much about him. Medbeds. Please, anything you know about medbeds. Okay. I'm not the premier thinker on medbeds, but I probably have a lot more knowledge than people may think. All right. Generally, okay, let's go with the first story. First story is medbeds can absolutely heal anything. They can target anything going on in your body, and they take care of it, including regrowth of a limb. Now, I've talked to two people that claim that they were super soldiers, and both said they've had a limb regrown through medbeds. But let's go with what the current technology that we know, because that to me, that's still speculation. What do I know? The current so-called medbeds are based on frequency. Now, I research a lot about frequency. In fact, I'm doing a documentary on frequency. I love what frequency gives to us. Frequencies are huge in healing. There's already proof that frequency heals. In fact, if you've ever had a kidney stone, you understand how they busted up with sound. They've already had proof that they can do the same thing with that is targeted frequency. Most of the med beds that are out there are a general frequency, which means they throw frequencies at you and it heals everything. Let me tell you my concern with this stuff, right? And yes, I believe the Rife and I believe all of this stuff. Here's my concern. How the hell do they know what frequency works? And the reason why I kind of know this is because I'm studying this, because for the documentary, I won't put a date on it. I'm trying to discover what frequencies do what type of things, right? So there was a person that called me and she was in process of writing a check for $220,000 to buy a med bed. It's a lot of money. Thought she said it was the most sophisticated med bed out there. I said, okay. I said, what do you need to know? She goes, I'm just curious. What do you think? I said, well, do you know who created the med bed? She goes, yeah. I go, great. Do you know their background and frequencies? No, I do not. I go, do you know what frequencies it's putting out? What she says, well, I'm told it kind of does this frequency and this frequency. And do you know how those frequencies heal? No, not yet. I go, okay, most important. Do you know that the people putting the frequencies in the machine have good intention? She goes, I assume they do. I go, so you're going to spend $220,000 on an assumption? She stopped her sale. Because I think that's the stuff that scares me the most, is do we really know? Now, I went to, I think I'd literally call it an underground frequency center with millions of dollars. There's so many cool things in this place. It would blow your mind. But I'm told in one sentence that frequencies can travel through the walls, yet all these machines in this place in different rooms, they didn't have like lead lined walls or anything. So that was kind of a little bit upsetting to me, or concerning, I should say. I think we're so fast down the frequency road because it's a good selling point. I think we should take a deep breath and step back. There's a lot of great information on that. Dr. Eugenia, who I've met, in fact, I featured him in my deuterium. He does. He works with his system, which I believe is a form of scalar technology. There's a lot of different things out there. I would honestly like to see a symposium on this and really ask and get some questions answered, because I do absolutely believe that it is the wave of the future, and I do believe there's a lot of healing aspects and frequency. I do think we should be careful about just throwing out frequencies all over the place, right? In fact, I believe back in the day they had some figured out more than others. That's why many of the bells in churches uh, had similar sounds to all across the world, because I believe they had that part figured out. So I believe there should be more open investigation about that. But med beds, I think, are a wave of the future, not the wave of the future. Um, all right, next up. Who is Scott Bennett and what is his role? Okay, so I know Scott Bennett. I've talked to him several times. Seems to be a patriot to me. His main role, I think, is showing us that Putin is not bad like the deep state mainstream media tells us he is, and that Ukraine is a deep state stronghold. Now, I right here disclose, or I would say put out a lot of information about Ukraine. In fact, that's some of the stuff that got me banned off of X, even while Elon Musk owned it, and got my videos never posted on True Social, removed from YouTube, removed from Facebook, and removed from other platforms, several other platforms actually. So I was disclosing a lot of the information about Ukraine. They're the Khazarian Mafia, deep state stronghold for sure. There's no doubt about it in my mind whatsoever. The difference is Scott Bennett is boots on the ground, literally goes to Russia and discloses this stuff. So I believe his role, and he may be tasked to do this, by the way. And I'm sure Scott would probably tell me to my face I'm not, but you know, they have to tell me to my face I'm not. I believe he could be tasked, and his one of his roles is to shine a positive light on Putin, and what they're doing over there is not what people may think. So that's what I think about Scott. All right, next up. Oh, thank you. And in addition, by the way, there's other questions I'm told and I've seen where people are asking specifically about other truthers, but when they do it, they're putting a very negative tint into the question. And right now, I believe unity is what's most important. I've pretty much put a lot of these influencers on notice that you have a free pass until about November 5th. In I'm going to scorch you, go scorch earth on you. And if you say something stupid like 19 Saudis actually flew their airplanes into the towers and that's what made them come down, then you're done with me. So if you say something so blatant, other than that, until what's perceived as the next election, which I don't even know if there's going to be an election, I'm going to give them to right around November 5th before I start calling them out, because I don't believe that's unifying to call them out. And I think there's some good. I've mentioned so many times, guys, you can use controlled opposition to your advantage. So don't be even upset with it. If you're at a high level of discernment, you take the good information and you absorb it, you can repeat it and show some other people the good information. Just the other stuff, just call bullshit on it. It's okay. So we can use them as useful idiots for us. So if you think there's bad truthers out there and influencers, there certainly is. I'm starting to believe that over 50% of the influencers are not good people. So what I like to do is I like to give markers and things for you to look at so you can determine through your discernment, because it's this whole thing's about between our temples, guys. The awakening is perceived of outside of us. I disagree wholeheartedly. The true awakening is right here between our temples. And when we can start to have that direct communication with God Almighty, and we have the discernment ourselves to make the determinations, you'll never have to ask a Lewis Herms who's what, because you'll already have the answer that God has put inside of us. We just have to learn how to access that. One of the ways to do that is through, and it's I just hit me, and I'm not trying to be a pitch man, is through something like this, Neumi, because it's the greatest way to get glutathione in your body. It's the master antioxidant, and it will help decalcify your pineal gland, get you in the best mental capacity possible. So find some supplements. Don't even buy Neumi. Find something else there that's going to decalcify your pineal gland, give you that amazing energy, the brain energy that you need. Amazing stuff. So go to neumi.com/Herms. Thank you, Lisa, for putting that on the screen. But the point is, again, I keep saying, if it is to be, it's up to me. I get to make the choices. You get to make the choices, right? Don't worry about what Lewis thinks unless you're just interested in having that conversation. If I can help you down that journey to have more discernment and really never have to listen to me again, I've I've done a pretty decent job. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I just need to know, every once in a while, say, hey, you helped me out. You're making an impact. That does help me psychologically. I'll be honest with that. All right. Next up. Why are there fences around the Supreme Court now? What do you think will be decided or announced that need fencing to protect from or keep in? Okay, this is a classic story of influencers putting out bullshit and influencers denying what's happening at the same time. So, the fences around the Supreme Court have been shown all over the place as these 8 foot tall black fences, lock and key, only one way to get out, blah, 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 blah. And then you have people pushing that narrative without even checking into it. And then you have the other people pushing the narrative. There's nothing around it. But then you get Nancy Drew, which I appreciate, goes there and shows you what's going on. And it's their standard concert barriers. They stand about 3.5 feet tall. I'm sorry, it's you could probably almost hurdle them. A midget could even climb on them or over, under them or over them. I know I can't use the word midget. That's not appropriate. Oh well. The point being is they're not going to stop a mad crowd rush. What they're set up, and they are there, but they're short. They're set up to slow down something. The speculation is that they're going to have a decision on the Lloyd Brunson case, the latest Lloyd Brunson case, which I think would be really, really cool. But the truth is, they're not fences, they're short barriers, but the truth is they also do exist and they do surround the Supreme Court. I've heard that they're kind of maybe moving them, going to move some over to the Capitol building. So we always just need that discernment. And what are we finding out, guys? I think if we're honest with ourselves over the last 7 years dealing with this, or whatever you want, maybe you're in it 3 years, 4 years, the truth is kind of in the middle. And hasn't it kind of really been that for your whole life? Right? There's the left side, there's the right side, and then there's the truth. That's why I decide personally to take a very pragmatic approach. I get in arguments with people on both sides, which is interesting. Generally, you're only arguing with somebody on the other side. I'm kind of arguing with people on both sides because I just try to say what I believe is the truth. I try to take a very pragmatic view. So the good news is if I put out what's considered conspiracy and I say it's a fact, I've probably done my due diligence to get to that point and call it a conspiracy or whatever it may be. All right, next up, guys, I know a lot of people are mentioning things in chat. If we have time, we will take questions from the chat room also. Next up. Have you seen the latest Tucker Carlson episode discussing how MLK was allegedly not who we thought he was? Do you have any additional information or thoughts on this topic? Okay, here we go. Here's MLK right here. The only guy left on my wall. I have not seen that. I can tell you, let me give you the bad about MLK. So if this was what Tucker said, it is what it is. There's a lot of evidence that he was kind of a philanderer, a cheater, had many women, and didn't always treat everybody in his circle very nice. Okay, if that's the worst of it, I'm still okay with MLK Jr. because I think his peaceful approach to waking people up with the evil that was against the black community at the time, that was real, right? That they were completely mistreated. That was 100% real. The way he did it, I really appreciated. So no, I haven't looked at the Tucker Carlson episode. I don't know what he's saying, to be honest with you. I can say based on my study, and I've read a lot of information about him. In fact, there was a time I was actually going to write a documentary, not a documentary, a book about him called King. I literally had the first part of it all written, where all you saw is a bullet heading towards him, and that's how it started. So I do have some information about him. I'd like to get some more if that's the case. I did take my Ronald Reagan picture off the wall, and I was a big fan of Ronald Reagan, and because I found out that the Bohemian Grove thing honestly didn't bug me, because they're like a bunch of secret society people, but they don't. There's even people from Bohemian Grove that says, well, there's sections. Not everybody does something bad, and some people don't even know about it. You're invited to certain sections, so that was kind of open information, right? And it wasn't all completely detailed that you go there, you're bad. Just like many Masons that go to the National Convention, they have no clue whatsoever because they're lower level Masons. So I didn't quite give them a pass, but I was like, eh. But then when I found out from Kathy O'Brien and other people that he was very aware of what was going on inside of the White House, even though I was told specifically by Kathy O'Brien he did not participate in the evil doings when it came to that. And she thinks he probably didn't even like it, but he was aware of it, and we never heard about it from him. And I think his last 5 years, he was controlled by the deep state, in my opinion. The first 3 years, I think he was not, and that's why Ronald Reagan came off my wall. MLK is still on my wall until somebody could really prove to me he did something bad. And I believe there are people that try to rewrite history. And interesting enough, Martin Luther King did wonderful work during the 60s, and then the Jesse Jackson type took over in the 70s and completely warped everything. By the way, I think he and others were run by the CIA. The biggest infiltration into our humanity in the United States from the CIA started in the 70s. That's when they went scorched earth and did everything they could possibly do. So pretty interesting in regards to that. So I'm not sure I'm MLK yet. He's still up on my wall, as you can see. Okay, cool. So we have one question left. So go ahead. If you have a question for me, please put it in all caps in the chat, and we will grab that if we can, and we'll talk about that. Okay, last question here. What are Trump's ties to Israel beyond his daughter's conversion and marriage? Are there links to Zionism or Freemasonry? Why did you support Trump so strongly? Okay. Are you ready to be shocked? Trump is supported by Jews, he's supported by Masons, and he's supported by Jesuits. Trump and Zionists. Trump may have infiltrated all three of these groups. I do not think he would have been so successful and had so much information on them if he did not. I think it's possible that Trump could be all three or involved in all three deeply. Again, I give him a pass because I believe President Trump would have done this as an infiltration. And that's how he gets a pass by a lot of the deep state before he came down the golden escalator. So that could be optics. I don't know. I will say this, and I know this frustrates some of you, but I like to be the more pragmatic one. I think it's possible, not likely. My wife disagrees with me, by the way. I think it's possible that you could have two major Masonic entities in a world war right now. One be to take down all the governments, bump, 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 bump. I'm going to go full barrels because that's what we, the people, do. Because ultimately, I believe President Trump will tell you that he answers to us. We do not answer to him. So I believe he's infiltrated many of these groups to get to where he is now. I think it's part of the plan, but ultimately the plan, as Ethan and I talked about Tuesday, is all about we the people. And that's what we need to absolutely remember. We must step up. All right. Do we have any questions in there, Lisa? I'm checking right now. Okay, here's one. And I guys, if you have any questions, anything on your mind, even a quick statement, just put it in all caps in the chat and we can go for it. I found one that's in all caps. I'll just read this one, Lisa, since you haven't found it yet. It just says, Lewis, do you think there are 1,000 to 100,000 MK Ultra ready to go at any moment? Okay, that's a great question. Laura Worley would say yes, and I love Laura Worley. And she would say yes because she believes that virtually all of the military has been MK Ultra. I'm trying to convince her I believe the military's been split for a long time. I don't believe it's all of the military. I'm leaning more towards, and I hate to say this because a lot of people are they take sides. A lot of the Air Force could be infiltrated with a lot of the baddies, and I have a son in the Air Force, by the way. I don't believe the Marines. I said a lot of the Marines I think have their shit together, but we're gonna find out. Now, do I think it could be 1,000 to 100,000? Even without the military, I think there's definitely over 10, 20,000. I think we've kind of seen it here and there. The good news is I don't think it's completely taken effect. And this is where I get really, really spiritual. I think there's some type of wonderful vibrations that are being put out there. Guess what? Not by the machines, like you're told, not by all the towers, not by anything, but from you. I think there's so many people waking up that and praying and manifesting together that we're diminishing a lot of these people that could be MKUltra and triggered. That's the good news. That's my own personal belief. We, the people, really hold all the power. And when I say all the power, I mean all of it. I'm not quite sure why we haven't realized it yet, but as soon as 20% realize it, I think we're done. We fixed the problem for sure. All right. It doesn't appear there's any other questions in the chat, so I appreciate your time. Lisa's in the background. Lisa, do you have any questions for me? She's she's giving me the head shake. Nope, got nothing. I want to go home. Leave me alone. All right, folks. I appreciate you very, very much. God bless you, our admins, all our supporters. Guys, we've got this. We really, really, really do. We just need to step up, and I'll be given a lot of different ways to do that coming forward in the next couple months. Um, but in the meantime, you can do something locally. You can create a prayer group, a manifestation group. Give us some ideas in manifestation. As you've known, if you've been on my Telegram channel, I often do a full month of prayer and manifestation. I believe it's very, very helpful. Some people believe that our group had to do with taking the guide stones down. I know that sounds crazy. There's some anecdotal evidence that maybe it's true. I'm not going to take credit for it, but I think it's pretty cool. All right, guys, listen to this wonderful music and presentation that Lisa put together at the end. I'll be back Monday. There's an amazing interview. Actually, no, I'll be with Robert and I will be with Matt tomorrow. And then I'll see you after that. God bless everybody. We appreciate you very much here. We've got this.